Welcome back to Balance Things Uncut, where we talk about health, wellness, and everything in between. Today we've got our amazing senior naturopath here, Sunny, who works here at Balance Beings. She's also an amazing lecturer over at Torrens, has had some history working with developing some amazing products as well, like products we use in the clinic. Haven't seen you use them much, no?
I have my phases.
That was you're like, that's so 10 years ago.
Yeah, true. It was actually 10 years
It
ago.
was literally 10 years ago. So today what we're going to be talking about is women's health, puberty, perimenopause, all of that stuff to help you guys with hormones, everything in between, and why our moods really dip with our hormones and what that's all about. So, Sunny, take us through some of the most health concerns you see in women.
Yeah. I think it's, as women and treating women, I think we can all understand the roller coaster of hormones and thyroid and all of that sort of, and it starts as young as 10. So from 10 years old, girls start experiencing changes in their bodies. Hormones start to change before that menarche occurs, that very first period. And that's really where the journey for women begin. Their hormones start changing from that time. So they go menarche and then they start developing. Puberty will start hit from that preteen sort of era. Fully developed, hits at about 21, 22, and then you're in your reproductive years.
Yeah.
A lot of challenges in those early phases of womanhood. So puberty, obviously, there's a really big increase in your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which can lead to so many mood changes, rage issues, and so many little girls who have no idea how to cope with that amount of emotion. As you kind of move through, 16, 17, 18, girls start becoming sexually active. It's happening a lot earlier now than ever before. So contraception is generally introduced, whether that's the pill, Mirena, Implanons, etc., which again just causes this whole bomb with female hormones.
Yeah, 100%.
Then you go into your pregnancy sort of years, the reproductive years, and obviously we know everything that goes with that.
So take me through why you think puberty is getting younger and younger.
I think as our environment becomes more and more toxic, we're exposed to a lot more xenoestrogens. Our water supply now has been proven to have estrogens in it. Our food, our antibiotics in food, hormones in food, pesticides, insecticides. Walking down the street, we're exposed to chemical exposure. Our livers become more and more burdened, and then we can't eliminate estrogen and progesterone. And also, young girls are a lot more overweight than ever before. So overweight and obesity from, 6 or 7 years old can cause an early menarche.
How?
High estrogen.
Yep.
Estrogen is stored in white fat. And if we have more white fat matter and we are overweight in those early sort of years, that can lead into an early menstrual bleed. Now, it's a sensitive area because obviously talking about weight to little girls that are, between 8 and 15 years old, it's a very touchy area. So it does need to be approached the right way.
Take us through what xenoestrogens are and how they impact puberty, because a lot of people don't know what they are.
So xenoestrogens are typically toxic estrogens from our environment. We most commonly find them in things like plastic, heated plastic. Coffee cup lids are notorious for having a really high amount of receipts, touching receipts, that ink that comes off them. Clothing fibers, parabens, so face cream, deodorants, all of those sort of things are endocrine disruptors, and xenoestrogens are just one of the most common ones.
Yes. And so at what age do you think having the discussion about women about what sex is and periods is, when would you do that with your child when all of this is becoming younger and younger?
It's such a hard question to answer. It's like, I think for me personally, I would probably start having that conversation around 10 and 11.
Same.
Probably start teaching her about what a period is and getting her, accustomed to the idea that this is going to happen. Might even be a little bit earlier that, your body's going to start to change and you might notice changes in your body, so feel free to come and talk to me about them. But 10 or 11 is what I recommend.
100%. And a lot of parents feel just overwhelmed by the topic, and that's why they avoid it. What do you feel like is super important that we educate our children on? What would you be including in that discussion?
I think little girls really need to be, and I treat a lot of little girls, and I really love this space, and even, that preteen sort of age group. I think we need to teach them, A, that body changes are normal, and to expect that they're coming. I think a lot of older millennial sort of age group, no one was really told what a period is or that your body's going to start to, it just starts happening and all of a sudden you get your first period. So I think for me, the key things to teach young women is things to expect that will happen in your body, what a period actually is, and the power of a period. Why is it so powerful that women have a period? Yeah. What is the purpose of having a period? Why do women go through this every month? And letting them know what it means, not just you're going to bleed every month and that's it.
Yep, 100%. Yep, definitely. And I think that having that discussion on contraceptive use and they want to do it, instead of pushing them into it, and teaching them about what sex is and safe sex and all of that is super important too when they're in that preteen age, because kids are having sex so young these days.
Yes.
Worries me.
Yes. Kids are becoming sexually active as young as 10 and 11. And it makes my whole full body rejection of that thought.
Like half the age of where we were.
Yeah, it's very young, and a lot of the times, they have no idea what they're doing, what it means or why. It's just a thing that's happening. Social media has a lot to answer for in that space, I think. Yeah. But I think as parents and as mothers, it's just about education and what it actually means, and all of those things, and what it can lead to, including STDs, pregnancy, all the things.
Yes. So as a woman that wanted to be on contraception, what would you say is the safest option?
Oh, it's a very tough question again. From a hormonal perspective, so there's hormonal and non-hormonal contraceptives. Hormonal contraceptives include the mixed pill, the mini pill, which is progesterone only, which is only 94% accurate. The mixed pill is 99% accurate. Then you've got Implanon, which is the bar in the arm. The most common side effect of the bar in the arm is severe and very rapid weight gain. Then you've got the Mirena. So the Mirena is an IUD inserted into the uterus by a medical practitioner, and it lasts quite a number of years. And then you've also got non-hormonal, which is the copper IUD. There's also barrier methods, obviously condoms, NuvaRing, diaphragm, which is pretty old school now, but some of those methods do exist. Yeah. The safest method, obviously non-hormonal is the safest way to go. Yeah. So using barriers, in my opinion, is the best way to go. Yeah. Copper IUD, copper is a spermicide, so copper can actually kill sperm when it enters uterus. Yep. However, copper leaching is also a problem, and we just don't have the evidence on that yet.
Yes.
Copper IUDs are not to be given to women unless they've had all the kids they want.
Yes.
Because they don't know the effects of that copper toxicity on a fetus.
And copper IUD, also remember that copper reduces our zinc, like a zinc and copper will, so it's going to deplete your zinc levels, which are really important for egg health, egg quality, and all of that for our reproductive organs.
Yeah. And I think the worst thing is the detrimental long-term effects of using any sort of contraceptives on fertility is not discussed enough. Doctors will often say, come off the pill and go for it, you'll be right. Yep. That's just simply not the case.
100%. What would you say isn't normal when going through puberty? What are normal symptoms and signs?
The normal things, weight gain, obviously breast tissue development, facial hair development for girls and boys, body hair, obviously, so armpits, pubic hair, arm hair can start to increase as well. Yep. So they're your physical things. And then obviously for teenage boys, preteen boys, you're obviously looking at spontaneous erections and all of that sort of thing. Yep. But then mentally, in teenage boys, there's a massive spike of testosterone. So that can cause a lot of rage issues. And also not just rage, but can also cause depression and anxiety as well when that testosterone spikes. Same thing for young girls. When that hormone surge happens, it's like your body is just under this massive stressful life change, and that's what leads into all of those signs and symptoms mentally.
Yep, definitely. And I think another thing people don't think about is how often their periods come in when they first start puberty. It's quite uncommon for it to not come every month once it comes, and that's fine. But I think after that 3-year mark, if it's really still not coming regularly after, you've had it for 3 years, I think that's a hallmark of there's probably some hormonal imbalances or other issues going on, would you say?
Absolutely. I think 3 years after menarche is a good amount of time, but I don't think any young females under the age of even 18 should really be having a great deal of manipulation of their hormones. Yes, you can do gentle things like modulate the liver, make sure the gut's working well, low dose chastery and things like that is okay. But yeah, definitely no hormonal manipulation under 15. A little bit can happen in that 16, 17, 18, depending on their body weight as well.
Yes, definitely. What about if women that are like really struggling with period pain from the get-go and breast tenderness, what would you do to help address that without regulating the hormones? Because a lot of naturopaths feel like they don't have anything they can do.
Yeah, for pain, and what was the other thing?
And like breast tenderness or like blood clotting, that type of thing.
Yep. Breast tenderness is due to fluid retention. So a lot of the times you have to work on fluid balance in the body, and that's via electrolytes, diuretic herbs. I'd use a lot of diuretic teas as well, which I think is beautiful for breast tenderness. You can do compresses as well, so go old school naturopathy and do some compresses. Chamomile compress is really effective for breast tenderness. And then for pain, I would do symptomatic relief. Pain is a symptom of a bigger issue. So you treat that with things like Cramplex, PEA,
Yeah, definitely. And so how would you say that women and parents have a discussion with their children about safe sex and hormonal contraception if they're feeling worried about their child wanting to go on the pill? Like, how would you have that discussion with your daughter if she's like, no, I want to go on the pill, that's what I'm doing?
In that case, I would probably educate her on what the pill is, what it can do, the detrimental effects of the pill, the long-term effects of the pill, and what are the other options. A lot of the times women go on the pill because they don't know there's another way.
Yes, they don't feel comfortable. What would you say are the most worrying long-term effects of the pill? The biggest thing I notice is like short-term use is nutrient deficiencies. We've got to remember that medication depletes nutrients. That's what medication does. So especially B vitamins, magnesium, zinc are common depletions that occur from the pill. But what would you say are other types of long-term factors?
The pill's also been shown to deplete vitamin D. So B's, as you mentioned, mag, zinc and iron. And also your vitamin C and A and E. So it utilizes a lot of those nutrients to be metabolized by the liver. And remember, a lot of women are also taking the pill for 3 to 5 years. I've had a woman that was on oral contraceptives for 30 years. Ongoing. No breaks. So it's a really, really long time to be taking something that's depleting so many nutrients.
100%. It's definitely worrying, hey? So if a woman's coming into you and they wanted to get pregnant and they're having trouble, they've been on the pill, what would you look at?
I would firstly ask them to allow me enough time to repair and replete nutrition.
Give them a realistic time frame.
A realistic time frame. And for me, that's like, if you've been on the pill for 3 years, I need 3 months to get things back in place. If you've been on the pill for 6 years, I need 6 months to get things back into place. There's a lot of different avenues that we need to go down. We need to make sure the gut's working well, the liver's back in place, nutrients are repleted, and then their antioxidant status is back up to par as well.
100%. And going back to puberty, are there any dietaries that you think really help to reduce issues with hormonal imbalances like period pain or breast tenderness or blood clotting or irregular cycles that they can do and parents can help their children with?
I really highly recommend like a modified anti-inflammatory Mediterranean diet. So omegas, making sure there's high amounts of omegas, lots of beautiful anti-inflammatory turmeric, ginger, turmeric, ginger, garlic, chili. Those sort of things are really good for pain management, but also to make sure that pre-puberty sort of era is nice and smooth.
100%. Definitely. And I think that people really don't like talking about puberty and they don't like having the discussion with their children.
And it's almost like every life stage that a woman goes through. So puberty,
it's ignored.
Pregnancy, perimenopause. It's kind of like, just deal with that. You deal with that and come back to me when it's over.
100%. And how does exercise influence puberty?
Oh, exercise has a huge impact on puberty for men and women.
Yeah.
For young girls, obviously, it's really going to help with their cortisol levels.
Yep.
As your estrogen and progesterone starts to wreak havoc, your cortisol will go as well.
Yep.
And exercise has a really lovely regulatory role on cortisol, but also regulates reward-seeking behavior, so dopamine pathway.
Yes. Yeah, so interesting. So let's talk a bit more about periods in general. Take us through what causes a period, what type of hormones happen in that menstrual cycle, and then on the onset of a period.
So your menstrual cycle, generally we're looking at 28 to 29 days.
Yep.
Day 1 to 5 is when you're actually bleeding. Then you move through into your follicular phase, so you're getting ready to fall pregnant in your ovulation cycle. Yep. Ovulation is generally, it's day 14, but anywhere from day 12 to 16 you can actually fall pregnant. So that's your ovulation phase. Key signs of ovulation is mucus changes. So optimal mucus looks like an egg white sort of consistency. And then you go into your luteal phase. So that's where you have a crash of estrogen and progesterone, and your endometrium is thickening and thickening and thickening because your egg wasn't fertilized at ovulation, ready to excrete that endometrium lining.
And so if a period's not coming regularly, what would you say is the most likely hormonal imbalances that are at play there?
Estrogen and progesterone and the ratio between the two. It can also be LH and FSH. So LH and FSH are two key markers of fertility that are at their highest when we're ovulating.
Yep. And so when we've got PCOS and we've got high testosterone, how does that influence our menstrual cycle?
High testosterone can actually cause anovulation, so no ovulation. It can also cause missed periods. And it can cause amenorrhea, dysmenorrhea, oligomenorrhea, all of those sort of things as well.
So interesting. And a lot of times we see women that think that they can't get help from us because they've already got cysts developed. Things like that. What do we do when we've already at that stage?
When you're already at the stage where you've got cysts that are developed, and PCOS is diagnosed on like a Rotterdam scale.
Yes.
So you've got to have the cysts, you've got to have the hirsutism, which is the hair growth, you've got to have the acne, you've got to have the weight gain. But that Rotterdam scale is now changing.
Yep.
So the Rotterdam scale is now obsolete. And there's a new...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's... When was that?
That's pretty recent.
Oh, so
cool.
Cool.
There's like a new PCOS era that we're in.
Do you read like a research journal or something once a week?
I read a lot of journals, yeah. I
so cool.
love to read journals. Yeah, it's weird. It's like therapeutic.
That's so awesome. I love that you know all the recent stuff.
Yeah, so the Rotterdam thing it's kind of become obsolete because we're now seeing women that have cystic ovaries and acne or weight gain and non-cystic ovaries, but it's still an estrogen androgen picture.
Yeah.
So they call it like an invisible PCOS, which is pretty cool as well.
Yes. So take us through what androgens are because everyone gets confused at what this is.
Yep. So you've got your sex hormones. Androgens are testosterone, and then your female reproductive hormones are your estrogen and progesterone. Yep. Androgens also include like your DHEA and that whole space, which is highly governed by your cortisol levels, your main stress hormone.
So interesting. Yep, and I think a lot of women forget how daily stresses that impact our cortisol really impact our hormones. Can you explain how?
Yeah, absolutely. So the HPA axis, so that's your hypothalamus, which is in the brain, pituitary, which is also in the brain, and adrenal gland. So your adrenals excrete all of your stress hormones, in particular cortisol. We'll talk about today. There's a whole other range, but you just don't need to go into that complexity. So the HPA axis, it really drives how stress is going to affect your mental health, your mood. Why can't we sleep when we're stressed? It's because of that HPA axis.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So now that we've talked a little bit more about periods, we've obviously already done a pregnancy postpartum podcast before, so you guys can check out our previous podcast for that. We're going to skip into perimenopause now and menopause because it's something that we've never covered before, and we want to feel like we've covered the whole space of women's hormones and so on. So we're actually addressing it and talking about it and not skipping over really vital parts. So take us through what menopause is, what's perimenopause, what's after all of this.
Yeah, okay. So just like we're seeing earlier puberty, perimenopause was not a thing. That is a term that's been coined in the last couple of years. And that's because we're seeing more and more women enter perimenopause earlier. So 35. 35 is when a lot of women will start, their cycle will start to change. The cycle will start to elongate. They'll lose that thick egg white mucus. So that happens around that 35 sort of mark. Interestingly, the perimenopause and menopause space for mental health is quite big. Progesterone and estrogen decline significantly, and each of those has a puppeteering neurotransmitter. So estrogen...
What's a neurotransmitter?
Oh, a neurotransmitter. I talk about them so much I don't even really know what they
Because
are.
when I talk about them, people are like, what the fuck are they?
So neurotransmitters are chemicals in the brain. They can also act like hormones and hormone-like byproducts.
Yes.
The most common ones are serotonin, GABA, dopamine, noradrenaline, and adrenaline.
So how we feel about our mood, our sleep, how we talk, our ability to talk, all of that is governed by neurotransmitters.
Yep,
Just
absolutely.
side note.
Yep,
Sorry,
side note.
back to what we were talking about.
So estrogen's main puppeteering neurotransmitter is serotonin.
Yeah.
So if we've got low estrogen, which happens when we're about to get our period, we get sad, we get low, our mood drops, we can also get more angry and ragey as well. Progesterone also drops, and the puppeteering neurotransmitter for progesterone is GABA.
Yeah.
So serotonin controls estrogen and GABA controls progesterone. As our progesterone declines as well, as we come into our bleed, you can again get very anxious, not be able to sleep. The part of our brain that has the most progesterone receptors, that limbic region, also governs rage, violence, and abuse. So if you're feeling a bit ragey, violent, and abusive, when your period's coming, it's your progesterone receptors in that limbic area of the brain.
Yep.
Same thing happens in perimenopause. So perimenopause, your body kind of goes, okay, progesterone's really declining. I'm not seeing that beautiful roller coaster that you're meant to see in that 28-day cycle. So as it drops, women start to experience severe anxiousness out of nowhere, sleeplessness, insomnia, mood regulating issues, and because of that progesterone, the cortisol goes and they start gaining a lot of weight as well.
So when you've got women that have got these symptoms, they think, well, what's the point in doing and think this is the natural response that's happening as I get older? What are your thoughts on that response and their belief system, and what do you feel like you can actually do to help them?
Yes, I absolutely think perimenopause and menopause is a natural life stage and a progression, but you don't have to suffer through it. I think that's the biggest message. Menopause and perimenopause can be a beautiful time. For a lot of women after 35, you know, they're financially stable, their life is kind of settling down, they're feeling more in control of, you know, their environment, they've got a stable job, all of those things have calmed down a little bit. Yeah, it should be really celebrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
Menopause
so
and
too.
perimenopause.
Yes.
So it's just about supporting women to believe that, and not, I think historically it's either been ignored or it's been, oh, you're drying up, you got no eggs left, you're done, you're over. So we need to change the narrative.
Isn't it? Very sad. And take me through why perimenopause has had to kind of come about only recently, and when we really historically are meant to be going through menopause.
Perimenopause is happening earlier and earlier because women are having babies later and later. Yeah. So the average age...
I'm not going to go through menopause till like
when did you have your first baby?
19.
Oh yeah, you'll be fine for a bit. You're still young. You've got a good decade left. Women historically had kids between 18 and 25. That was the reproductive years. That's you. You did things right.
19 and 22.
Yeah, old biddies like me who had their babies after 30 were at a higher risk. So any pregnancy that's after the age of 35...
were you over the age of 35?
Yeah, for my second.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even know you were that old.
Yeah. I'm way older than just 35. Girlfriend.
Really? Oh my
Not
gosh,
way,
you're looking
a lot.
great.
Thank you.
Oh my god. No Botox?
No Botox, not yet. I'm not opposed to it, but not yet.
Oh my gosh. No wrinkles at all. What are you using?
We'll get back to that. I'm not going to give away all my secrets.
Oh my god. What?
Yeah. So after the age of 35, you're classified as a geriatric pregnancy. You're at higher risk of having an autistic baby, ADHD baby, birth
Why is that?
defects, all of that sort of thing, because of your estrogen and progesterone levels, and also your metabolic parameters.
Yes.
So as you go over 35, you're higher risk of gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, and that funnels down to the baby's development.
Yes. And your health as well at that age.
And your health at that age, yeah.
Like DNA and all of that, and how that gets developed as you get older. If you're not looking your healthiest,
Yeah.
being your healthiest, a lot of times we have more oxidative stress as we get older, and that really impacts Bub's health as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So as time has gone on, we're having babies later and later, and a lot of women are going straight from having a baby straight into perimenopause, because that transition is just happening more naturally at that age.
Definitely. So for the naturopaths listening, what are your go-to protocols for that really angry, irritable, low sleep, anxiety type picture for women?
I really love using amino acids because it's not a short-term fix. We need to work on the foundations. And for a lot of women, menopause, that whole transition can be up to 10 years. There could be 10 years of hot flushes going on. So I like using glycine. Glycine is a beautiful, cooling nutrient.
Yeah.
Helps with GABA as well, puts women to sleep in the evenings. I also really love, and this is probably a bit airy-fairy, but I really love using feminine floral herbals. So things like passion flower, lavender, which have that feminine touch, but also are clinically tried to be GABAergic to put women to sleep.
Yeah.
I think herbs have masculine, feminine properties.
Yeah.
So say using passion flower, chamomile and lavender, which are all flowering parts in that phase of life where, you know, things are not flowering. I think it's a
I fucking knew something was coming, so I knew you were going to do that.
I just think it's such a lovely way to, you know,
I'm dead.
yin and yang it out. But the other part of this conversation is that men also stop producing testosterone, right? You know, they suffer with ED, they you know, start losing muscle tone, they get the little belly and all of that sort of thing. They do. And that happens around the same sort of age.
Yes. And so...
Andropause.
Yeah, interesting. And so going back to women, stuff the men today, we're not dealing with you guys. We don't care.
That's another day,
Just
another
kidding.
time, another podcast.
We care. Yes, we'll go into detail on another time. But yeah, going back to, besides the emotions and the moods, what about when we've got women that are coming in and they, like, to actually support, do we do any support with hormone work, or were you just focusing on the neurotransmitter balance?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They might be mentally fine. They might come in for menopausal acne. They might come in
Mentally
for...
fine. Who's mentally fine?
It's rare, but they might be mentally fine. And come in for like menopausal acne, menopausal weight gain. I have a lot of women that have their thyroid goes out in menopause as well.
Why?
Because of the HPT axis. So the hypothalamus and pituitary has a really big impact on the thyroid. And then your estrogen's also influencing the thyroid gland.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And there's all of those different hormones have an axis.
Yes. And so why does the thyroid more likely go out in pregnancy or afterwards or postpartum, or always to do with our hormonal cycles that change? Why is thyroid most at risk?
The interesting thing with thyroid is sometimes you can have pregnancy or postpartum thyroiditis that then just disappears.
Yes.
So you give birth and
Isn't
then
it crazy?
your thyroid's like, okay, I'm good now. That pressure point's over, so I'm good. That's generally ovarian related. So there's another axis called the ovarian, adrenal, thyroid axis. We call it the OAT axis. And when we've got a different life phase, a pregnancy, a postpartum period where estrogen's naturally elevated, the thyroid will get affected and it will be inflamed. So thyroiditis can occur, or subclinical hypothyroid.
Yes, interesting. And so how does stress impact our hormones and our perimenopause risk?
The more stressed we are, the higher cortisol space that we live in, the more likely we are to gain weight. So elevated stress is going to make you gain weight. Elevated stress is also not going to make you sleep well. So your circadian rhythm, your diurnal rhythm of the day will be out, which we see all the time in our salivary testing. Your DHA will be out, your testosterone, estrogen and progesterone. So stress really drives most thyroid conditions and most early premature menopause sort of areas.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think that, the more like we're in that cortisol space, the more likely we're more going to struggle through that perimenopause.
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. And the weight is harder to shift. Your appetite and satiety hormones, so your ghrelin and your leptin, are completely reliant on the adrenal glands. They're completely reliant on appropriate cortisol release.
Yes, and so if a woman's coming in with that weight gain, what are your treatment approaches going to be?
In the perimenopausal sort of years, first and foremost, it'll be diet and exercise.
Okay.
As soon as we hit 35, you need to go weight bearing, and obviously have a really big focus on a high protein, calorie deficit sort of diet to maintain the weight, especially if you're seeing a rapid increase. So these are just basic things.
Yeah.
And then you go into your prescriptions. So prescribing things like your cohoshes. I really love using uterine tonics, so more holistic herbs like shatavari, dong quai, etc.
I love dong quai.
It's so beautiful later on to support through the perimenopausal years as well.
Yes.
They're not just the fertility and postpartum, they can be used later on as well.
Yeah, awesome. What are your thoughts on HRT?
Sometimes
Gonna go
it's
shoot it out there for you.
sometimes it's unavoidable. If there is a really severe disturbance in mood, there can be major depressive disorder, suicidal ideation, etc., then HRT is necessary. But you can always work alongside HRT. You can work alongside anything. You can work alongside the pill, you can work alongside HRT, but it's just a matter of knowing your herbs and nutrients well and getting them prescribed by a proper clinician.
Yes. Yep, 100%. And so diet-wise, anxiety and depression-wise, if we're really struggling with that perimenopause and there's women that are watching now, what are some dietary approaches that you'd really introduce to help manage anxiety and depression diet-wise?
Diet-wise, for
Yeah.
definitely, again, it would be of high focus on your amino acids like tryptophan for serotonin production, tryptophan-containing foods like turkey, amino acid-containing foods like tyrosine, and then omega-3s. Omega-3s are neuroprotective. They actually heal the blood-brain barrier and protect it from any kind
Fish,
of inflammation.
guys.
Yeah.
Good quality sardines, wild-caught salmon, nuts, also good quality of tryptophan too, which I find super helpful. What are your favourite herbs in perimenopause space? Just the black cohosh?
I love the cohoshes and I love sage for hot flushes.
Yes.
I really love a saffron turmeric blend for the mental health side of things. Purely hormonal, I really, really like the dong quai shatavari combination.
I find St. Mary's is good too.
Absolutely, St. Mary's is lovely. And rosemary as well for estrogen excretion.
Yes, 100%. Why estrogen excretion would be needed?
Elevated estrogen at that time is the main driver of the weight gain.
Yes, okay, interesting. In relation to like progesterone dipping, but estrogen isn't dipping with it.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. And then besides that, is there anything that you think that a lot of women aren't doing lifestyle-wise that are really impacting that perimenopause and menopause stages that they're going through and really struggling through?
I think slowing down. I think it's just such a fast-paced life that people live. Clients that I talk to, they're just like, we go from this to this to this to clean up and then go to bed. Like there's no time for people
Enjoyment?
to actually...
Who's watching the sunset these days?
There's no joy left for people. I always ask this question when I'm in consulting. I'm like, what do you do? What do you do for you?
Yeah, I say, what do you do every day that makes you happy?
No, and most people are like, I don't... It freaks them out because they don't know. And
Midlife crisis
and then
incoming.
they don't even know what makes them happy anymore.
I know.
Like, what do I like? What are my hobbies?
I like the beach, and I like the sunset, and I like drinking alcohol. What about, speaking about alcohol, how does that impact our hormones?
Well, it depends on the type of alcohol.
Wine?
Majorly. Wine is probably the worst thing we can put into our bodies, especially because of the salicylate content, especially white wine, unfortunately.
So what alcohols are your go-to then?
Straight spirits. Really? Hear me
I'm a
out.
cocktail drinker.
Yeah. So that is actually the best thing you can do for yourself if you choose to drink alcohol is go to straight white spirits. Purest form of alcohol, no salicylate content, no chance of histamine intolerance issues. The whole red wine is good for the... No.
We're putting this into real. Everyone's going to eat us up. Everyone's going to eat us up. That's so interesting.
It just causes
I love
havoc
cocktails.
on your digestive system.
Yeah.
White spirits, gin, vodka, that's really it. Stick with those and blend them with things that are, low sugar, low additives. I just think, and then beer then has the whole yeast and fermentation issue, which can worsen gut health and it can worsen SIBO and all of that.
SIBO,
sort of thing.
candida, all of that. 100%. And then lucky last, before we finish up today, something that a lot of women don't feel comfortable talking about or speaking about is vaginal dryness. Why does this occur?
Happens because of progesterone. So the most common reason that occurs is progesterone dipping. Allopathically, they'll prescribe a progesterone cream for vaginal application or a pessary. I actually give this trick to women who are experiencing vaginal dryness: coconut oil mixed with SB.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so open up a capsule of SB to a little jar of coconut oil. Obviously, it's only going to last a couple of days, and utilize that topically. It's really restorative for the vaginal microbiome, and the coconut oil is an antifungal as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
You
good.
can use it as a personal lubricant too.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like a lot of women really struggle with that vaginal
do.
dryness, and like, at the end of the day, we really want to support balancing those hormones as much as we can, so there's not completely differences between the progesterone and estrogen and what they're doing to help reduce that vaginal dryness as well.
Definitely, and that dryness can cause like postcoital bleeding and all of that sort of thing as well.
And then what about, those women that are really struggling with acne, menopause, why?
The acne is very heavily androgen driven, and the weight gain.
Yep.
So menopausal or perimenopausal, where all of a sudden the skin just blows apart, there's a really big liver thing going on, and excretion. So kidney, bowels, all that sort. Peristalsis slows. Our digestive enzymes start to slow down, so we're not digesting
Yeah, a lot
food
of women
as well.
are really struggling with constipation when they get that perimenopause as well.
Yep, not enough saliva. Everything just dries up. Not enough saliva, not enough digestive enzymes, and the stools dry out a lot as well. So a focus on fluid in the bowel.
Yep. And how would you do that?
So using really good quality magnesium citrates and things like that, just to draw water into the bowel as naturally as you can without needing laxatives.
Yep, awesome. That's so good. Is there anything else that you wish other women knew about perimenopause or menopause or puberty that you wanted to go over in this session?
I think perimenopause should be celebrated. I think it's a time where, yes, things are changing, but you're moving into a new phase of your life. Where, yes, things might look a little bit different. Life might look a little bit different as well. But it is a chance to restructure your health and reinforce better habits, so that your later years are as joyful and as vital as possible.
Yes, you can make the later years as enjoyable as you want to make them as well by what you do lifestyle-wise. Are you exercising? Are you journaling? Are you reducing your stress? Are you making time for yourself every day? Are you having moments of happiness? Like, what are you doing for you? Like, this life is for you as well. And I think that so many women get caught up in making my family perfect and always being there for my kids and making sure I'm making enough money or I'm making every single meal from scratch. Don't forget about you as well, and that you are important and you need to look after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
100%.
It's such a celebration.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thanks so much for joining us in this week's podcast. Until next time, may your days be healthy and your weeks be balanced.